they say rose. We show you stay at home. Wash your hands. It's social distancing. Everybody stay at home. Wash your hands. It's social distancing.
What a fantastic performance. Thank you so much for watching from Studio KSA.
Revolutionary greetings to everyone joining us online. My name is Comrade Fasia Hassan, and I'm very humbled to be today's program director and facilitator. Welcome to the ANC Women's League Umanyano. We've just heard a prayer, the national anthem, and the Women's League COVID-19 song. So that's given us a really good and exciting start to what's going to be a very robust and interesting discussion. Without further ado, I'm going to introduce the president of the Women's League. She's also an ANC NEC member. As well, most women, actually, when we really are led. And when we look up to the older women generation, Mambata is definitely one of those. Today, I wouldn't even have a duck on my head had it not been for Mambata. So without further ado, let me now hand over to the first element of our program, which is the opening and welcome presented by Mam President. Over to you.
Welcome everyone to our fight under the theme One Nation, One Heart, Harmony, Umanyano. Unity is strength. And we want to gain everyone to stay at home. We must wash our hands a sanitizer and we have to protect our children, talk to them so that they understand this whole regime of responding to the pandemic. We need to protect older persons and ensure they are safe. We also need to protect the vulnerable and the poor. And last week, as the ANC Women's League, we issued as Sazan. We still want to embellish that support and also all other women that have been abused during this period, women that have been brutally killed. And we are pleading with the justice system to try and ensure that our people feel safe and protected under the present conditions. They are difficult, but they do not invite any behavior that has disrespect, a behavior that is abusive, a behavior that wants to always subject our people to oppression. We also have joined the ANC and the Alliance partners in the fight against racism and sexism. And we want to say, as the ANC Women's League, we stand for non-racialism and non-sexism. We stand for those that have been abused. And we want to pledge our support to families that have lost their loved ones in the hands of the people they trust. Welcome to our speakers. And today, the program will be under the stewardship of young people. We've invited those that are also young to speak, and those that are not young but want to ensure that young people use the opportunities that are there in the workplace, wherever in a business, in tertiary institutions. And therefore, let's prepare ourselves for Robert Rufus debate. Over to you, Fosia. Thank you very much. And you look beautiful in that duke.
Thank you, Ma. Really appreciate it. Like I mentioned earlier, we are in the 5th Umanyano program. Everyone's joining us on the various social media platforms. But just in case others are unaware, you can join us on Facebook, you can join us on Twitter, Instagram, and even YouTube. We're streaming live across all platforms. We also ask that you share our various social medias. If you're on Facebook, you can start a watch party, you can retweet on Twitter, you can also share it on Instagram and YouTube, just in order for us to get the message out to as many people as possible. And of course, I must share the hashtags. As Mambata alluded to, it's a bit of a young women's desk takeover of the Umanyano program. So you're going to be seeing a lot of young women over the course of the next 2 hours. But just to share the hashtags. So when you do share our social media details, or if you want to comment or ask questions, the hashtag Umanyano is going to be used, as well as hashtag stay at home, hashtag wear a mask, and if you even have enough characters, hashtag young women take over Umanyano. With that said, we're now going to move to the next part of our program, which is going to be Comrade Precious Banda. She's really going to take us through what the next, hour, 2 hours are going to look like. We've got a very exciting program. Comrade Precious, she is the former TG or Treasurer General of SASCO, currently the national convener of the ANC Women's League Young Women's Desk. She's also a national committee member of the YCL SA, as well as a member of the ANC NYTT, a Marxist feminist, and the SACP district committee member in Castro Pilusa district in Limpopo. Very long and very seasoned young activist. Over to you, Comrade Precious, to take us through the program.
Thank you so much, Comrade Program Director, Comrade Fasia. Allow me to take this opportunity to send our greetings to the leadership of the ANC Women's League, led by the President of the ANC Women's League, who's with us, the SG, who's with us also, to all our panelists, our speakers, to the team in the office, to those that are watching us from home and are already contributing. We can see that comrades are watching us and are already contributing. Let me also take this opportunity to pass our condolences, like President said, to the women, the families of women that died in the hands of men, even during this lockdown. We remember Sibongiseni Gavadwa. We remember Nompumelelo Chaga from Tata in the Eastern Cape. We remember Nkomeka Senyani in the Eastern Cape. We remember Naledi in Nosobeng, Southern Cape. We remember Tulu here in Gauteng. We remember Tsukufato here in Gauteng again. We remember the police officer who died in the line of duty Officer Sioko too. They are not the only ones. There are many young women in the country that have died in the hands of men. And we call on law enforcement agencies to speed up in cases that involve violence against women. Comrades, this week's Umanyano is about young women participating in the economy. For the past 2 weeks, we have seen and heard from different women ranging from the informal settlement, from small businesses, and to women that are in the professional spaces and in mainstream industry. That was last week. Women that are able to make a contribution to the economy of the country, and women that are ready to be the change that we want. These are women that we committed that we're going to support. These are women that have been looking for the ears of those that make decisions so that they are heard and they're allowed to make the contribution and the change that we are looking for. So we commit again, just like the leadership of the Ancwl Women's League committed last week, that we are going to support women in mining, women that wrote letters to the president, women that wanted the attention of the office of the president and until today have not been responded to. Progressive women that want young people, that want young women in particular to make it into the mining sector. We are going to work with them and ensure that they are heard. So this week, it will be young women from various industries coming forward to say, here we are, we want to contribute. We as women can make it, and we as women can give opportunities like us. So it will be young women and the economy. We wish everyone well as they listen to our speakers. And like the program director spoke, feel free to send us questions. Our speakers are always ready to respond and to give out the necessary information that we need. But we must know that as young women, we must not leave anyone behind. We must carry with young women from all walks of life, all sectors of life. We must carry with young women in the rural areas who don't have network, young women who choose to buy bread than data because of the harsh economic conditions, young women who work in the hospitality industry and risk losing their job because of the lockdown, the sex workers, the farm workers, the domestic worker, the displaced and migrant women, all of them, we are going to ensure we move with them. In the words of Umam Charlotte Mateke, when she said, this work is not for yourself, kill that spirit of self. Do not live above your people, live with them. And when you rise, bring someone with you. In her words and in honoring her, we are going to ensure, as the Young Women's Desk of the Ancwl Women's League, that in every work that we do, in all programs that we do not leave behind whatever sector of young women, and we focus on the most vulnerable among us. Thank you so much, Comrade Program Director.
Thank you, Comrade Precious, for really setting the tone and the context in which we find ourselves. And I think before we get to that first speaker, it's very important for us to, I think, emphasize that while we are seeing a surge of protest, of social movements, of social uprising around Black Lives Matter, we must always be cognizant of the fact that it is in particular Black women who are the most vulnerable and the most oppressed. So while we continue our activism and while some people get more involved than before, let's always remember, like you said, Comrade Precious, that women are the most vulnerable of society. And in fact, we cannot sit in any platform without talking about the war on women's bodies or even about femicide, because there's never a time in which we are not afraid. There's never a time in which we forget that there's a serious attack, not just on us as women, but on women of color, and Black women in particular. We're going to get into our actual speakers now. Our first speaker is Mandisa Gandela. She is in fact a chartered accountant, certified. She completed her articles with KPMG and then ventured into the industry and joined the insurance and banking industry in various financial management roles. And she's been there for a number of years. Subsequently, she then moved into academia and is now currently the acting Deputy Executive Dean of the College of Accounting Sciences. And adjacent to that, she also serves as a member of the Black Forum South Africa in her capacity as CFO. Now, Mandisa is going to be sharing a presentation with us about for today. So please bear with us. We're just hoping that it will show up on screen. If not, we just ask for a few minutes of patience. In the meanwhile, Mandisa, you can flight your presentation. I just want to remind everybody at home to please share our social media. You can share this as a watch party and really just put forward the kinds of ideas that we have, and please engage. Even if you don't have a question, you're also welcome to make a comment. And really what we want to create is an organic discussion. This is not a normal, I think, would be in a space where we'd all be together. It would be say Amandla and everyone would say our too. But here we have to adapt, and we have to really make do with what we've got. Manjit.
Morning, comrades. I'm trying to thank you for the wonderful introduction, Comrade Fasiha. I'm trying to share my presentation. However, I see it's giving me. Oh, okay. Now I'm on. Thank you so much for allowing that. Yeah. Can everyone see the presentation on the side?
We can see it.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Once again, thanks so much for having invited me to this wonderful opportunity. This woman, I was to sing in the rather. So my presentation is very short because we are appealing to young people, and I know our young people's concentration span does not last for too long. So in the interest of time, obviously, for the meeting and our people to be the presentation is not very UKZN. I did my articles as mentioned at KPMG, and my work experience was within the health insurance industry at Metropolitan Health Group, and then I went to Standard Bank from there, and then now I find myself at UNISA within academia. So when we speak about accounting science, I think it's important and we relate what it is exactly that we're speaking about, so that we're all on the same page. So accounting sciences is a social science, so a field that encompasses mostly financial accounting. So within the disciplines are your financial accounting, your management, and auditizations. You are able to quite a number of fields within the industry. You find internal auditors, you find your CAs, you find your CMAs, which are chartered management accountants. You find your specialists in taxation and so on and so forth. So it's very much a broad industry, and there's a lot that it encompasses in terms of skill sets. So bring it closer to home with regards to where I'm based currently, which is UNISA, and having the opportunity and the privilege of occupying the position that I do at the moment. I'm able then to share, some statistics in terms of the enrollment of accounting students at UNISA, at our college rather, within South Africa, which is at least 20% of the accounting graduates in South Africa, and I that's a significant number at the back of South African CAs in South Africa are UNISA graduates. So I think that's important also in terms of placing the importance of such institutions as UNISA specifically on that. And then as to with regards to also the quality of graduates that we to make sure that we produce high quality graduates, because we know that they are absorbed, a lot of them are absorbed in very esteemed positions within industry. Continuing with our UNISA, or the College of Accounting Sciences, kind of what we do, we enroll at least 75% of our program is a CA program. I mentioned earlier a number of professions that you can venture into as within the accounting sciences, but for all the students that we enroll, 75% of them enroll for the CA program, and the rest are then split into the others. More than a quarter of our ITC passes are UNISA graduates. So those that are in, the CA kind of profession, they would understand what ITC is. That is the board course that you write with the professional body once you are done with your tertiary education, essentially. And so it's important then once again to emphasize that our intention is to protect and enhance the financial interests of the South African public, and therefore we take that responsibility very seriously in terms of the output that we produce for the market. So I'm going to hone into specifically the CA statistics. I don't want to do everything because then I'm mindful of time, and we it would take quite a while if I had to go through all the different specializations and professions per se. So I think it's important that we highlight, and with the CA profession being my profession, I think maybe biased, a bias was applied there, and that I'm sharing. So I wanted to share the statistics of CAs. If you look at that total column, so we've got the years, and then we've got the total column, which represents the actual number of CA professions within the country. And I've put on the statistics from when they were tracked, which is from 2002 up until where we are now, which is 2020. So it's very demoralizing, I think, if I have to put it that way, to look at the stats and see that only 7.6% as at 2020 of the CA profession is made up of Black females. And of the total 6,000, only 6,000 are Black in total, which means that the remaining then, the difference between the 14%, which represents the total Black chartered accountants in relation to the total within the profession in its entirety. It's very demoralizing to see that at 26 years later into democracy, we are still not represented as much as we should be as a Black people, one, and more especially as females within this profession specifically. So I'd like us to just take in the numbers and just have a look at this slide, because it speaks volumes. So we are seeing that there is an increase that is going on year on year, but we need to take those increases into perspective in terms of it is that the population of the country actually represents. Is it fair, or is it even Black people in totality, whereas the Black person is a majority within the country? So I think this will speak to certain challenge.
Mandisa, are you still with us? It could be on my side, but I think we might have lost you for a moment. Mandisa? We can still see Mandisa's presentation. We're just trying to get her back on the line. These are some of the technicalities. You can have as many test runs as you wish, and things like this happen all the time. So we're just trying to establish and get Mandisa back on the line. But you know, in the meanwhile, I was actually just pulling up some quotes, because a lot of what Mandisa has been saying has been around the lack of representation of Black women in the chartered accountant space. And we see this across the board, whether it be mining, which is my previous life expertise. We see severe underrepresentation. And the reason duty who are entering into these doors for others. There's something that someone recently said to me, and that was, if you are at the table, you've done something wrong. You need to ensure that you are opening the way for many more women to sit at the table, so that it's an exception to have. It must be my mind and my heart. And every day, currently, the youngest member of the provincial who are like marginalized, the way and able to use the numbers on your screen. And I mean, it's in 2020, it's 14% Black, the total Black, and in Black and less, it's 7.6%. So it just shows you the kind of work that we need to do. But of course, this is the fact that we have a structural problem, that it's not just that young Black women are not achieving. They're not achieving because of the way society is built up. Even universities and higher education is set up. And us trying to re-establish Mandisa on the line. But like I said, it's really around how the university system as well is set up, financially. And then, of course, there's added dynamics that when a woman enters into the space, she is forced to continuously have to prove herself. And that's a conversation I hope we're going to have afterward. Mandisa, I'm told you're back on the line.
I'm certainly back. I apologize for that. Technology would get the best of you when you listen. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
All right, thanks so much. So where I was, I'll just take it from the last slide that you then saw. Can I just be allowed to share the screen again?
Okay, we'll make sure that happens.
Thank you. Okay, perhaps while we are still waiting for the screen to come up, I think while we're waiting, we saw those stats, and my next slide is talking to what is the problem, or what are the problems that are causing these. Having with one of the big four, having gone through corporate South Africa, through the work that I did in industry, and now being within academia, and there's a common thread in all of these systems or environments that you find yourselves in, that we find ourselves in as we venture into work. And that common thread really speaks to institutionalized or systematic systematic racism that we find ourselves in. So I think it's a known phenomenon. Black women especially will be immediately threatened and marginalized even further, because there is an expectation that perhaps we will get preference post democracy, to recognize the fact that we've been marginalized for all these years. And we know, we've known, anybody that's been within corporate, we will know that we'll never be equal to our counterparts, and just trying to attain that status is just something that's it's a process that is frustrating, that will never. How do we fix the problems that we find ourselves in? So the problem is the problem, and we know what the problem is. It's a systematic problem. It is entrenched, and it is a deliberate problem, to even say specifically. Speaking about our challenges and our problems within the working space, we've done that. We've been talking about this, but talking amongst ourselves and talking within our peers, within different groups, it hasn't yielded any results. So the question is, at this point, what is it that we can do as influential women within industry, within academia, as myself, within corporate? What is it when we are in Black power, that we are in power as Black women, what is it that we can do to change the narrative and influence the numbers that I have, that I've just shared with you not so long ago? And needless to say, that's just a snippet of what's happening within one industry. We have many other industries. We have engineers, we have medical doctors, and the same principles play themselves out over and over in all these different environments. So at this point, I think I'd like to appeal to us as Black women, and especially us as Black women in power. I think there was a preamble to this, to the opening of this meeting, that we have a responsibility as Black women, especially in leadership positions, to make sure that we bring up other women that are not necessarily within the ranks that we find ourselves in. And I think we will have done ourselves a great disservice if we are to fail Black women like that, if we are to fail Black nation, and she's going to pull out many more from where it is that she came from. So Black women, program director, I'd like to mention at this point that we have a great responsibility, and there's a saying that goes, with great power comes a great responsibility. We do not want to be the women that are going to cast down on other Black women. In fact, there should be a special place for those Black women that do that to other Black women. However, we need to look at systematic processes that we can utilize to make sure that we are able to get ourselves out of this dire situation that we find ourselves in. So how do we do that? Finding our self, correct word that we can, that we find ourselves in. It's quite unfortunate, actually, that the system that we are working towards is a system that is entrenched from even primary, from creche, from all the years of your life as an educated woman that is working. I send my kids to private school, and I think a lot of us do that. And what knowledge is it that our kids are getting and attaining out of that system? Is it not time that we need to think about a schooling system that will teach our kids the values of Ubuntu, the values of Africanization, the values of who we are, that we want them to attain? However, we are comfortable sending our kids to this systematic environment that we find ourselves in. And until the day comes that we take a stand and we stop look like, no, enough is enough. Let us address this and come up with our own system and send our children where we want where we want them to attain the knowledge that we want them to attain, which is all about Africanization. Until we do that, we will remain in this circle and this dire situation that we are unfortunately finding ourselves in. So education is a system. I think we all know that. We are trained from wee years of our lives to think in a certain way. And unfortunately, the educational system that we feed our children into on a daily basis, who are there 8 hours a day, 360, okay, on average, many days of the year, they are getting fed this education and way of life and principle that we don't even as black people relate to, and then we emulate that same principles that we've learned, and hence you see those numbers that you see, because unfortunately the system, it teaches you individualism. It teaches you that I must do better, I must do best. I do not bring anybody along with me, and that's the unfortunate part that we are finding ourselves in. So at this point, women are a very powerful tool, and I think on Rwanda as an example in terms of what it is that they've done in their country after genocide in such a short space of time, and what they've done there is it's just representative of how much can be done when you put women at the forefront of any struggle. And I think we've seen that even here. It's just that at this point, government to be able to address these issues that we are confronted with as a black people head on. And maybe it's time we think about it. We need organizers to be able to challenge the systems as they are, because obviously a democratic government has to represent everybody that is within that democracy. So what is it that we can bring in place that can assist the democratic country to be able to assist the black people that live within it? And I think the answer to that is just one thing, and it's one thing that women do very well, which is solidarity. Once women decide to come together and fight for a cause, it's as well as done. So if we can, as a black woman, as a black people, come together and decide that enough is enough, we are not going to stand for this anymore, we can definitely do wonders with the country and with the future of where we see ourselves within the economy in years to come. And I think because I'm in academia, I keep drawing back to the education system, because at the end of the day, there's a saying that goes, if you can feed a black man your education, you don't have to worry about his actions. So that child, that person that you've put through that system will come out and emulate exactly what that system represents and what it purports. So education for us is very, very important, and it's the grassroots that we need to go back into and see how it is that we can check the current. So the current, I think 28 now. I am a member of the Black Forum, and I think such organizations is what is exactly needed at this point. So Black Forum is an organization that has been formed in 1988 within UNISA. It's a forum that operates within UNISA, and with that forum and UNISA, we have been able to challenge and environment from a a white monopoly system, if I can put it like that. So, but it takes work. I think we do understand that it will take work. It will take years. But if we go in there with a mission that we have decided we are going to take the system head on, then there's nothing that can stop us, and there's nothing that will be able to disempower us from this race in attaining Black empowerment. I think that I'd like to leave this presentation at. I'd like to at this point, engage on the presentation. I do apologize, the rest of it didn't come through, but yeah, I think Fasiha, I'm happy to do that.
Okay, I think we're engaging at the end because we're going to get all the different presentations. So much. I want to just, I want to talk. I stand on the sacrifices of 1 million women before me, thinking, what can I do to make this mountain taller so the women after me can see further? And she titles this poem Legacy. And I cite it now because everything that Manji has said to us is really around how do more and more women into the space? How do we find ways in which we support them and ourselves to ensure that, I said earlier, are able to do even better than us. And, we pave that way. Technicalities. But really, we're going to be having Sina Doko. She's the managing executive of the public enterprise BCX, and I've got her bio right here. I just want to check she's not having any connectivity difficulties. In the middle, let me. So currently, she's the managing executive, like I said, at BCX and Malcolm SOC. She's also responsible, that is responsible rather, for the public sector vertical. She's previously been with Microsoft and worked at SADC in driving digital transformation solutions. She's a seasoned ICT professional with over 18 years of experience and also a former recipient of the Nedbank Business Woman of the Year in the corporate category, as well as the Mailing Guardian Top 200 Young South Africans in the business category and the CETA Women in ICT, just to name a few. She's also a wife to Vuyo Mboko and a mother of 4, Semi, Salu, Zaniti, and Vuyo. Are you on the line, Sina?
Yes, Sina, I'm on the line.
Thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure. And thank you so much for this very deliberate, relevant platform which seeks to address issues of marginalization for women in South Africa. Thank you so much. I would like to take this time to greet our president, Mamkata Dlamini, to all the executive members that will be present here of the Women's League. I also send greetings. Mama Bonke that are in attendance of this glorious day of Umanyano. Everyone that is in the call, including Otata and men and the youth, to greet you in this afternoon. Program Director, I'm humbled to be regarded as a young one. You've certainly made my week, leading to my 41st birthday on Saturday. I've always been considering myself old. And truly, we are living in unprecedented times. Who would have thought that we would be having a gathering of this nature using technology and an online platform across the country to engage on the multiple of topical issues that we'll be presenting today? Which leads me to definitely saying that this will be our new normal and the future is definitely digital. To echo the sentiments of the previous speaker, Comrade Mandisa, maybe a bit of statistics around how women faring in the technology space globally. In the tech sector, women constitute 22% of the 7.4 million technology occupations which are held globally. Even though from an education perspective, STEM is in the system and it's being driven hard, 50% of women still do leave STEM, which is your science, technology, and mathematics subjects. And this number comrades, perhaps from the outset, let me deal with a worrying notion that seems to suggest that within the South African circles, that the idea of the fourth industrial revolution is getting ready for 4IR, saying things like 4IR is the future. As if 4IR is still coming, 4IR is here. And I'm sure you will all recall when we had the World Cup in 2010, we had a slogan that Philip is here. Indeed, the 4IR is here, and indeed, Philip is here. We compete in a global market with opportunities that continue to update and modify the fourth industrial revolution products, which merely consume and generate no real commercial value from them. What worries me about this kind of long-distance relationship with 4IR is that we're setting ourselves up for failure once again. And we have the last race before we have even begun. Our problem is that we think we've got time, but we don't. We don't even have time to prepare for the fourth industrial revolution in some vague something that will come in not so well distant future. The same way we did with the second, the third industrialization from a revolution perspective. And we still are maintaining this distorted perception. South Africa indeed, and the whole continent, has a pressing and urgent challenge to accelerate all initiatives around digitalization across various sectors in order to catch up with the rest of the world. Thus, we give people of Africa and South Africa a solid advantage to compete in the fourth industrial revolution. If we understand the 4IR correctly as cyber physical interactions that affect our daily lives and the way we do things and conduct our business. The guys in the marketing world use an experience, and it's a new term, a fascina that which is the blend between physical and a digital. So in order to identify opportunities that exist within the context of fourth industrial revolution in South Africa and the rest of the continent, we must apply a bimodular approach, where on the one hand, we look at opportunities around physical devices and products, and on the other hand, we look at opportunities around digital solutions and platforms. Nothing captures this fundamental understanding of available opportunities within 4IR as the concept of Internet of Things, IoT. And it's a term that gets thrown around loosely, which is one of the defining dimensions around 4.0. It is the Internet, which means digital platform and services of things, which means devices and products. If we fail to appreciate the two distinct, albeit related opportunities, we will leave money on the table. And somebody else, some young person in Asia or in the US, will grab it. So in essence, we must first and foremost ask ourselves, what digital platforms can we establish or exploit to solve particular challenges facing our little corner of the world? That adage of the travel industry, design it for locals and tourists will come, which means your solutions must be fit for purpose, for local challenges, but they must be globally relevant. In South Africa, for instance, there has talks about property stockpiles clubbing together, especially, you know that it's women that are the cornerstones of driving these stockpiles to buy and invest in property. This is a brilliant idea. Multi-million rand of business that could be converted into a digital platform that will enable prospective buyers to view the properties and purchase them online without ever having to meet one another, similarly to how we are engaging on this platform now. There are several challenges in healthcare, education, support for small business, logistics, agro-processing, mining, and many other verticals that need new cyber physical solutions. These challenges are opportunities for young South Africans to participate in the fourth industrial revolution. The real beauty about the 4.0 is that we don't have to start from scratch. I believe it was 1996, state to be corrected, when Steve Jobs, when quoting one of the greatest artists ever to live, Picasso, he said, "Good artists copy, great artists steal," unquote. And we've always been shameless about stealing great ideas. There are several products and services, both domestically and international, that need a bit of local flavor and can be multi-million rand businesses. With a well-proven appetite in the market since it first launched in 2013, there is no reason why a home-brewed ride-hailing solution still does not exist in South Africa to compete with the American Uber. I mean, it's even now become a known term, or the European Taxify, and further compete with the other spin-offs such as Uber Eats. And recently, post-COVID, we have seen a spike in the e-commerce statistics of bottles, where we've got entities now that are delivering wine and beer to your door. There is no reason, fellow comrades, why we don't have our own version of Airbnb developed in South Africa, localized, and all the tax revenue and benefits will be within our border. Streaming platforms like Spotify, Deezer, SoundCloud, and Apple Music means that there's an opportunity to approach our local record labels such as Afrotainment, Galawa, 999, and many new ones that have opened studios across the country to set up local streaming platforms that give better rates to local musicians and music. Despite the positive impact that they have on improving the quality of life for South Africans, one of the detrimental impacts of foreign-owned for this accessible, which to limited the regulatory environment that enables a massive exodus of revenue to allow practices such as transfer pricing. A South African-owned ride-hailing will bankrupt, reinject its profits with the local economy, contribute to a tax base, and create jobs in South Africa. We must learn from the success and experiences of the likes of Steve Jobs to copy, steal, and localize ideas that are proven to be successful. An International Telecommunications Union, ITU, reported recently, revealed that in South Africa, 2 million internet users in 2017, growing to 30.8 million, and placing our internet penetration to 54%. Whilst this might sound significant growth year on year, it means that more than 20 million of our South Africans do not have access to internet, which brings about the big debate, which really needs to be well thought of and well applied as to opening spectrum for use of our under-marginalized and our underprivileged citizens to be able to access data. It means that there's an opportunity in network, laying down fiber opticity and closing down the digital divide. Without connectivity, we cannot even speak about 4IR. So who's going to provide the connectivity to the outstanding 46% of our population? Whose business is it to take up that opportunity and make millions while creating jobs for others? In my view, I would say it's an opportunity that we need to look into as a collective. Remember, I said earlier, to understand the fourth industrial revolution, I want us to look at just one, which is the Internet of Things. I have dealt with the Internet thus far. Let me quickly come to the part of things when we discuss IoT. Who is the manufacturer of these things? Who is manufacturing our phones, our tablets, our computers, our TV, our lights, our fridges, our cars, our gaming consoles, the geezers at home, and everything else that we use every day that has Wi-Fi and a Bluetooth connection? Who is manufacturing these things? In 2020, I cannot show you a brand of smartphone or tablet that is originally made and owned in South Africa. Where is the original South African car? Where is the original South African computer? These are opportunities in our backyard which we have left unattended and have had to import products from other countries. The truth about importing any product is that you could buy from someone in your own country. You export jobs needed by our very own people to strangers in part of the world to which you have never even traveled. With a youth unemployment rate of above 55%, we cannot afford to export jobs. We need to strive to keep everything local. So we must manufacture the things that make IoT work. The logic of penetrating the market applies to the other dimensions of 4IR, such as biotechnology, advanced materials, energy, and environment. And if we do not develop local capacity to design and create smart grids, someone from another country will come and sell their services to us. Who has started looking at strings of services that can be offered through drones? It is not that obvious area of growth for South Africans to be shown the harnessing and exploitation and the benefits of local business to our people. With some of the challenges we are facing in the electricity supply, micropower generators, a classic example as to how one can use 4IR to solve problems today. Who is the manufacturer of those micropower generators? Who is supplying them across Africa? Africa as a whole has a very rich textile industry. To what extent are we gearing our textile industry for nanotechnology and functional materials? Is this not an obvious area where we could be targeting as South Africans and Africans to benefit from the fourth industrial revolution, which in turn will breed e-commerce? Big data analytics has become the new frontier for planning and evidence-based decision-making, both in business and in government. In the same way, in terms to help us monitor our finances, companies and governments are looking to business analysts to help them navigate complex data sets that have an impact in the survival of their business or the quality of services that are delivered by government. You will also note during this course of the pandemic COVID-19, we've been using extensively services of analysts to give us insights as to which areas would be hotspots for hot zones or heat zones in high rate at our disposal. As I conclude, we must be radical in our approach. We cannot have a approach when competing and fighting for our space in the fourth industrial revolution by challenging traditional players to which we have become accustomed and assume that it is normal for them to be intrinsic part of our daily lives. The bulk of the platforms and programs we use in business or in government in South Africa today run on three main software houses: Microsoft, SAP, and Oracle. Surely we can grow our new South African software that help us run our day-to-day operations in the office. However, this requires a deliberate and bold, both from government and business, to opt to buy locally developed and manufactured products. But us as young people, we must first offer us that local product. While Africa is grappling with strategies and panels of experts, the world is not waiting for us. The 4IR is the new way of making money in modern society. Pick a vertical or an industry, whatever it is that you're passionate about, understand it thoroughly. Then identify your niche along with its value chain. Give us a product or a service that will make a difference. In my view, this is not only a woman-only challenge. We need diversity of voices and perspectives in technology. If not, we run the risk of a gender bias and unintended consequences in eras of entering into algorithms. Your niche does not have to be small, nor does it have to be original. Find a gap and deliver on a solution. Thank you so much, Program Director Fasina. I can take reflections or questions at this time.
The questions right at the and now we've got DJ Anita, who's dropping her latest single. The idea is really just to have some different content coming through. So if I could just ask the technical team to connect us through on that.
I'm unmuted. Don't I have to unmute my speaker?
Thank you. I'm not sure if everybody heard the sound. We were having some difficulty in terms of that. But maybe right at the end, as we saying goodbye, maybe we could play together for those who couldn't hear it. We're now going to move to the words of encouragement by the Women's League Deputy President, Comrade and Umama Sisi Ndombela. Okay. we're actually going to move to the next agenda point because we don't have that one at the moment. Hopefully we will still be able to get that at the end. And this one is one I think that's going to be close to all of our hearts now, especially with the schools reopening. We're going to be hearing from a young woman teacher by the name of Comrade Lindsay Hughes. Also on the challenges of teaching during COVID-19. I just want to properly introduce Comrade Lindsay. Okay. Lindsay is currently a grade 12 English teacher and the English departmental head. She's also a member of the COSATU Young Workers Gauteng Provincial Committee and currently studying towards her honours in education, focusing on the decolonization of such education. She's also a member of the YCL SA District Committee member in the Linda Jabane Gauteng District. Lindsay, are you with us?
Hi, comrade. Yes, I am.
Over to you. I see you in classrooms.
Yes, I am. Afternoon, everybody. As has been indicated, I'm Comrade Lindsay. I am currently at school, so if you do hear any awkward noises, please bear that in mind as well. Just a special greeting to Comrade Batabile, the President of the ANC Women's League. This either in our field as well as out of our field. Today, what I basically want to look at, as you have heard, it's about the challenges of teaching during COVID-19. Now, the first thing that we need to address as teachers as well as young people is what teaching was like before COVID-19, and specifically the fact that many pushed against the rise of 4IR. Comrade Mandisa and Comrade Sina both spoke about the fact that 4IR is here, and it is something that none of us can hide away from. And yet, as a young teacher, it's always been something that we've had to fight for, either in our own schools or in our unions. And this is something that COVID has, for lack of a better word, been a blessing in that regard, in the sense that we, during COVID, during the lockdown, we were definitely thrown into the deep end and had to learn how to deal with online teaching or with preparing extra worksheets, any material that needed to be distributed to our learners. Now, on the offset, it seems as if online teaching is something that is a word, and something that is very important for all of us to note is the issue of data, and the issue that data is obviously very expensive and would be very expensive for many learners as well. So it was something that many teachers had to deal with, not only for themselves specifically in terms of how do we manage our use our principles. Also, they to wisely courses can they use if it's not just their teachers specifically. So the data issue that many organizations have been fighting for, COSATU themselves have been fighting for this issue of data and the fact that data must fall. And this pandemic has definitely shown us the severity of data. Comrade Sina mentioned that there's possibly 20 million people in South Africa that don't have access. And as an educator, I'm concerned that majority of learners are part of that 20 million. And how then do we give them without breaking the bank, either for themselves if they have spending money, whatever it is, but also for the parents at home. So the lockdown was extremely thought-provoking, specifically for myself in terms of that data. Another thing that time during lockdown also brought out was the split in education between the public sector and the private sector of education. And I think on this a bit in terms of why are public schools experiencing certain things and why are private schools experiencing other things. So when I spoke about online school, it's a buzzword because that is something that is seen as a norm in a private schooling sector, whereas a public sector teacher might not necessarily have the same access either to the learners or to the parents. So this is where many citizens of themselves very difficult, especially around the privatization of education. And what does that do for the South African child, specifically the girl child, who sees that there are some people that are getting everything. They are getting not necessarily the best education, but they are getting an education that has a great facade of, I'm trying to find the right word, a facade of being the best and being put on the forefront. And you might be sitting there not going through that same education. Can you think of what that means to a child sitting at home in a situation where they can't necessarily do anything else? This takes me back to an article that I wrote for the SACP, marketization of education, and what that is doing to education, especially in South Africa. So we are sitting with an education system where parents and learners now have seen the great divide. None of us can hide away from the fact that a private school is very different to a public school. And what then are we as South Africans going to do to ensure that all children are getting access to the same type of education? Now, if I think of going back to schools, we know that this week grade 7s and grade 9s went back to school for the first time, and there was a great sense of anxiety leading up to that. And I think it's across the board, whether it's learners, teachers, or parents, the anxiety of what is this new normal? What is schooling going to be? What is my child's social interaction going to be like at school, coming home, going to school? We pay a lot of attention to as educators and deal with the anxiety, not just for ourselves as individuals, but obviously for the anxiety of the learners that we are interacting with every day. They are now having to wear a mask at all times, which is something very different to the norm that they were exposed to. They're having to be hyper aware of hygiene, hyper aware of who is around them at all times. And I think that that is something that we need to think about, especially in education at the moment, is that education, the sphere and the sector, is now going to focus a lot on the social aspect in terms of the anxiety that is being caused. And I think that once learners got to school, once teachers got to school, it definitely alleviated a lot of anxiety, because as educators and as learners, they and ourselves were also empowered. And I think that is something that is very important. And I think a platform like this is definitely also a way for us to empower other people, because there might be those who are still at home who haven't gone back to their workplace, or there might be learners that are still in the lower grades that are going to watch and going to see that our teachers know what is happening. Our teachers have a confidence that they are going to look after us. Yes, we understand there are cases. Yes, we understand that COVID is reaching its peak. But at the end of the day, we are all still trying to do the best that we can. So I look forward to any questions to have a further engagement. Thanks, Program Director.
Thank you so much, Lindsay, and for joining us from literally the ground on being in a classroom. That's really, we appreciate you taking the time to join us in that regard. Thank you. We are no constraints that we have in front of us, so I am going to be picking up the pace of the program and getting straight into the the next item, and that is Noxolo Ngayo. She is in the maritime industry and particularly from Ocean Econ Consulting. Noxolo, are you with us? Okay, in the meanwhile, while we establish her, I'm just going to go through her bio very quickly. Like I said, Noxolo is the founder of Ocean Econ Consulting. It's a maritime-based research and consulting company with a proven track record in the field of oceans economy and local economic development strategy. She's a maritime economist by profession and a researcher in the fields of transport economics, port management, ship logistics, etc. She's a leading voice in promoting transformation, capacity and skills development in the maritime industry, and also an alumni of the prestigious World Maritime University. She also holds a BCom in economics, a postgraduate diploma in maritime studies, and an MSc in maritime affairs from the World Maritime University of Sweden. Noxolo, I think I see you in front of me.
Yes. Good afternoon, colleagues. I'm just trying to share my screen. Thank you for the opportunity that has been granted to me today to speak about the oceans economy. Greeting to the president of the Women's League, Mambatabile Dlamini, and SG, and Isqeba Somama Bonke Abakoyo Umanyano of today. Today I'll be speaking about the maritime industry. Can you please assist me in sharing my screen?
We'll get out. We just start speaking to it, and then as soon as the technicians have it open, we'll let you know.
About basically highlighting the maritime industry, the oceans economy, and I'll briefly talk about Operation Pakisa, which is the policy that was launched by our former president, President Zuma, and I'll touch on the different subsectors of Operation Pakisa. I'll speak about the opportunities that are available to women and highlight the challenges that are faced in the industry, and then finally close off on how we can move forward, and probably we can speak about about policy change. Since the advent of democracy, the government has been
sorry to interrupt. Yes? You're welcome to share now. You should be able to share it. Okay. Is it working on your side?
Just trying here.
Okay. If we can't get it, that's not a problem. You can continue speaking to it, and maybe, hopefully, while you're speaking, we'll get it up. Here with us? Okay, we seem to have lost Noxolo. We're not really sure why, but I know the team will be working on getting her back on the line. In the meanwhile, we're going to go straight to the next speaker, and then we'll come back to Noxolo just after that. I'm just going to pull it up. We've got Ms. Lebogang Zulu, who's going to be joining us. Ms. Lebogang Zulu is the CEO and 100% shareholder of the AV Light Steel and a founder of the Chisisirang construction company. She's an entrepreneur with over 13 years of experience in energy, construction, and engineering sectors. Ms. Zulu has held various positions, including the executive director of Shoes Meshwe Holdings, business development executive at Gaza Energy, power station manager in training at Eskom, and the international trading operation manager at the Eskom Transmission Group, just to name a few. There's quite a long bio here. Mamlebo, if you'll forgive me, I want to give you a straight platform so we don't eat into your time. Over to you.
Thank you, Program Director. Revolutionary greetings to the Honorable President of the ANC Women's League, Umanyano, the SG, distinguished speakers, leaders, fellow young cadres, young entrepreneurs. Thank you for inviting us to such an important platform, a platform for our future leaders, driven by Mama Sizwe, Umanyano. It is opportunities like these and platforms like these. Okay, I think the previous speaker is back on.
Nokolo? I think Mamlebo, you should rather, now you've started.
Comrade Sina spoke about the fourth industrial revolution. And she said it is not a concept anymore. It is not something that's still coming. And I truly agree with her. In a sense that while she spoke about it from a telecommunications point of view, we speak of 4AR in the construction sector. So what people may think, oh, but how does 4AR relate to construction? It totally does. But equally important to note with 4AR and the disruptions that are brought by 4AR, equally important to note is the impact of or the effects of climate change. Today we experience heavy winds, winds that are blowing people's roofs. Today we're experiencing floods. But the question is, are we adjusting the way in which we do things to meet and speak to today's conditions? We're sitting with scenarios where there's backlogs of a lot of infrastructure, housing, schools, clinics, hospitals. COVID-19 has really presented I would like to talk about is, yes, challenges are everywhere for us as women, whether you're in the political space, whether you are in business, whether in the classroom, in all various spaces where we operate in. And these challenges are quite common, but there are just those that we really need to zoom in on and be conscious of them. And that more than anything else is what I call sidelining. Sidelining and it's sidelining where it doesn't matter how good you are as a woman, whether you are to an accountant, it doesn't matter how good your content is. You have to continuously raise your voice in order to be heard. Okay, if you do not raise your voice to be heard, you're totally ignored. What I would like to talk about is, say, while we have all these challenges, can we pause for a second and say, what have these challenges done to us? Have these challenges made us stronger? Have these challenges brought us together? We are sitting with Umanyano right now. We are talking as women coming from different backgrounds. These challenges have brought us together, and I'm appreciating that. Now, from an AB Light Steel point of view, AB Light Steel is a manufacturing facility that was funded by ABSA, IDC, and it's also one of the Black industrialists. Why did it even come about? It came about because we said to ourselves, okay, so while you have the fourth industrial revolution with its impact, you have the effects of global warming are happening in the construction industry, especially in an industry where we are operating in a country. This country, South Africa, has a population that is composed of 50% is women. We're operating in an industry that generates about 95 billion rand per annum. 1%, less than 1%, women are participating in that industry, let alone the blackness of it. that for me is, and then of course, less than 10% of women are in the infrastructure or in the built environment, less than 10% of the population. Now, surely that, that says to us the gap between quality gap is actually widening up instead of closing up much as we like. But until we start driving deliberate programs of actions that says, Lebogang Zulu, you guys have established a manufacturing facility that produces materials that do respond to your 4R, that do respond to your global warming. What are you doing in order to bring up and coming young entrepreneurs that are in the build space, your engineers, your construction managers? What platforms are we creating in order to harness that skill and take it forward? I might go back to the time when I was still coming from university or coming from tertiary, straight into the world of work. Eskom took a chance with me, because at the time, all I had was a piece of paper, no experience and no knowledge really of the power station environment. But it is that chance that Eskom took on me that has resulted in me growing within the organization, and that today we now have a manufacturing facility, we now today have a construction company. But is it good enough then for me to just be Lebu, and how many other labels am I going to give that chance to? Now, because we believe in that 40%, 40% no, 80% of our staff complement in AV Lifestyle is made up of A, women, and B, young people. These are people who know very little about innovative building technologies, period. Well, at least when they started. But you speak to them today, the knowledge level, the experience, okay, I noted, thank you, Pasia. But they've gained a lot of experience. The program of action that we want to present, and of course with limited time constraints, we're not going to go into the detail of the program, but is a deliberate program support from the very young people to help us identify young people or young entrepreneurs who are in the construction space that we will train and develop. While we are training and developing them, we then get to accelerate delivery of let's say scenario. There's an urgent need for your temporary classrooms as we speak. There's an urgent need to address overcrowding and social distancing. It is those young people that we will train and license at the end, and it is those skills, it is those licensees that can tomorrow go and address your backlogs in housing, your backlogs in schools, your backlog in health facilities, basically. Just I'm trying to speak as fast as I possibly can in consideration of time, but yeah. I'm quite limited. I would like to segment that we have developed, and I would like an opportunity for us to deliberate further on into greater detail on the program itself, because it says let's move away from from engaging. It's good that we are engaging, but let's start putting programs on the table that can be fine-tuned and taken. I thank you.
Thanks so much. Also for keeping the time, it makes my job much easier. So appreciate that. We're now going to try and quickly go back to Nokolo, because we still want to hear, and it's very interesting, the maritime economy. Nokolo, are you still here with us? Also, just so people know, it's a huge opportunity for job creation. It's what we call now the blue economy. So that's a huge space that's potentially untapped. Nokolo, we're just checking with our technician. We can hear you now. All right, over to you. Thank you.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. everybody, and my apologies for that technical glitch. As I have said previously, my name is Nokulongayo. Today I'll be representing Ocean Econ. Ocean Econ is a maritime consulting company that is dealing with research and particularly development, looking at strategic development in the maritime industry. My presentation today will be speaking about the ocean's economy, well known as the blue economy, the visa opportunities available for women, challenges faced by women in the industry. Of time constraints, I'll try to limit presentation, but I'll be sharing it with the leadership, and they'll be able to distribute it further. Since the advent of democracy, the government has been at pains in addressing the triple challenges of inequality, poverty, and unemployment. And with that, they've started exploring different policies and economic strategy. And the latest of that is the introduction of Operation Pakisa, a program that is geared at accelerating job creation by unlocking the potential of the ocean's economy. The ocean's economy and the maritime economy has been identified as one of the potential opportunities to contribute to South Africa's economic recovery and growth. As we have known in Africa to look at vast opportunities for recovery and growth. Operation Pakisa was launched by former President Zuma on the 8th of July of 2014 as a key driver for job creation. Operation Pakisa is a suitive phrase of hurry up, modeling on the success of the Malaysian big fast results approach to utilize and fast track implementation. It is projected that the ocean's economy can create more than 70,000 jobs. GDP contribution of ocean industry by over 30 billion in the short term. And in the long term, it is estimated that the ocean's economy